Alright, you lovely idiots, what's going on? We are back with another episode of How to Hero. Today we're going to be dealing with the Citron. The Citron has 200 HP and is generally considered to be the ground holder. He has two forms, meaning that there's a lot more abilities to cover here. And all the abilities that he has are mainly used in holding the ground and keeping distance. However, recently, nerfs to the Citron haven't been kind to this man. And the Citron is, in my opinion, one of the harder characters that you're gonna have to deal with. However, he has his beginning cap is low, and his cap is marginally easier to learn. Then the skill ceiling is high, but the skill level is low. Let's jump into abilities. The primary weapon of the Citron is the orange beam. It's a laser beam which deals anywhere between deals anywhere between 7 and 1 damage depending on how close you are to the target. This is also affected by damage upgrades. The closer you are to the target, the more damage you're gonna deal. It's how the beam works. In other times, I would have recommended you use the Citron as a sniper, as damage drop-off was much less. Your triangle allows you to transform into ball form. You move much faster than normal Citrons. You move faster than Citrons on the ground. You're harder to hit, and you have 2 more abilities. Your L1 speeds you up, allowing you to move faster, jump higher, and also makes you frictionless. Partially. You can use this to get to places you normally wouldn't be able to. But the R1 is bound to a spin dash. Rolling around at the speed of sound. Hitting someone with the Citron ball charge deals 50 damage, and is enough to kill if they're low enough. However, in fight form, his abilities are very different. Less mobility and more dealing damage. The R1 is bound to the peel shield. This gives you an extra 50 HP that you can use to soak up damage, allowing you to hold your ground and keep it. However, it only works in one place. You also gain XP every time you block damage. The L1 is an EMP. It's a stun grenade which deals more damages to Z-Max and stuns the target for a brief period of time. It also will do some damage. There is a zombie variant of this called the Sonic Grenade that is wielded by the Engineer, but we'll tackle that when we get to it. The Citron is definitely more of a push to the front and wait for the rest of the team. Ball form moves significantly faster than most other characters, the exceptions being Pea Shooter in Hyper Mode and the Corn using Husk Hop. Now, par for the course, this Citron, as the name states, allows you to use the ball form to roll into the action, then instantly transforming into an attack mode, laying waste to zombies. He does have some pretty good variants. I have jack shit. I have half the Citrons. But we have the normal Citron, the frozen Citron, the electro Citron, and these 3 are the Iron Citron, Toxic Citron, and Party Citron. 2 legendaries and Toxic Citron. Now, they are all characters are amazing in their own right. Except the Electro Citron, but we don't talk about what happened to him. Now, the Citron doesn't have any ults for his abilities. Unlike other characters, he might actually have... No! He has the Mood Shield, which replaces the Peel Shield. The Mood Shield, it lasts for shorter, but has more HP, and you can tell when it's about to break, or stuff like that. But without further ado, let's jump into some games to show you exactly what the Citron can do. I'm going to be showcasing the usefulness of Citron on maps such as Moonbase Z and Lunar Landing, where you have a lot less, where your gravity is low and your accuracy needs to be better. You can maximize the Citron's ball form ability to gain ground and get there before other classes expect it. Don't go immediately for the zones in modes like Suburbanation or Gardens and Graveyards. Remember, most classes in the game benefit massively from dealing with one enemy at a time. Pick your fight. Try and bully classes that have lower health, and use ball form to get out in a pinch if you need to. Citron, more than anyone else, massively benefits from working with your team. So making the most of Citron's abilities will be made more useful by sticking with teammates such as other Citrons, other class, the Torchwoods, or Corns that have higher health. Sometimes it's best just to roll around in balls. With Peel Shield up, you are capable of surviving as EPG. But it's not by much. More so here than anywhere else, Citron is ideally played similarly to that of the Torchwood, a defensive class. Hence, going on offensively played maps requires a lot more skill. The EM Peach allows you to, as a quick get out of jail free card for most situations. You can use it to stun lock opponents and prevent them from escaping from some situations. Of course, there are exceptions to the rule, but there are also reasons the rule exists. The EM Peach it's crazy. Not only do you lock them into inescapable insta, but all their abilities get removed from them. Meaning not only can you support your enemies from the back lines, but you can but yeah, like the stun grenade. Not only can you trap them in some form of insta temporarily, but you can also maximize your damage output by using the EM Peach and the Peel Shield. Remember, Peel Shield can only deflect damage from one direction. Try and stay in the direction where there's the most damage. Another thing Citron does scarily well is be a damage sponge. Remember, with 200 HP you have the second highest health on any of the plants. The only class with health even near you is... The only classes with HP similar to yours is Torchwood with 275, and Corn with 150. Chompers also have 150. I think Armor Chomper breaks 210, but we'll cross that bridge when we get to variants. Citron is a bit of a slog to play. As you see here, I'm not a fan of Citrons. I find their playstyle to be boring and repetitive. Use the beam to harass people at a distance to get them to come to you, then bumfuck them with your abilities. However, let's take this opportunity to go over what the Citron counters and gets countered by. Citron on defense is a really powerful threat you have to deal with. It's not every day that a Citron gets to use its ability, gets to maximize its skills. But when you do, oh man, it's powerful. Of course, Citron will decimate the imp very quickly if you're close enough to it. That's pretty cut, standard, and dry with most of the characters. However, his damage drop-off makes him pretty difficult to kill anything else. And I really do mean it when I say the damage drop-off was not kind to the Citron. He would still hit decent damage from pretty decent range, but since the damage nerf and the drop-off nerf, you basically have to ram the beam up someone's ass to do any damage. Interestingly, Citrons can completely stop mobility classes from getting to where they need to be. Foot soldiers, engineers, all-stars, that sort of shiz can be completely stopped by Citron. Remember, EMP blocks abilities. Use the EMP to prevent his foot soldier from getting to where he can be to maximize his powers. Use it to prevent an engineer from getting to the teleporter. There's a wide variety of things you can do. The EMP has a hidden stat where it does bonus damage against Z-Mechs. We'll touch on Z-Mechs later, as they differ massively. However, the Z-Mechs get stunned for much longer, and they also take bonus damage from the EMP. Tell me, are you aware of what the Destroyer droid from the Star Wars series is? Because if you do, then this is the character closest to the Destroyer droid. Shields to protect it from taking damage, the ability to transform into a ball. Really McFreakin' powerful. But remember, you are pretty big, and you're pretty noticeable since you're a giant walking orange. However, I'm gonna recommend this more than any other character. Pay attention to your death location. One of the Citron's main boosts is a pretty neat ability to be able to get to odd positions very quickly. Know who's where. Play your cards well. I mean it most earnestly here, as knowing who's where allows you to make quick escapes. Even if your damage drop-off is ridiculous, still, don't be afraid to die, especially since your damage is ridiculous. Your damage is low at long range and you can kill people pretty fast at close. However, if you can't kill a class on your own, don't. Wait for more teammates before you try and take something on alone. What I mean by that is, don't go running guns blazing into a swarm of teammates if you can't do it. Wait for your team to take the AoE away. Of course, your team will get devastated. Again, the hover goat, as I will mention later on, is a dickhead to shutting down a lot of combos. But now let's go over what gets hard countered. What hard counters the Citron. I'm gonna, similarly to the Torchwood, thanks to your really big hitbox and being very obvious, engineers will be able to spy you on their big bolt blaster from a mile away, and also harass you from that far. You don't have a sound way to deal with an engineer's big bolt blaster, nor a captain's barrel blast. So don't. Stay out of the way of the barrels, and try and focus on the classes you can deal with. Trust me, it'll be so much better in the long run. Now, I'd be an idiot if I didn't mention that there are actually two different types of weapon. There's the beam, which most of the classes have, and then there's a single shot type weapon. Not half of the Citrons have a beam, half of a single shot projectile. You're not going to see many of the single shot projectiles, partially because I'll be showing them off more in variants. But long story short, the single shot ones especially are better used at range. since their single shots allow them to do more damage. Allows them to do more for a lot less. However, this also means they have to reload a hell of a lot more. But I'm covering the basic Citron and some basic tips. I'm not going to be going into variants, because that's just going to be stupid, as you don't need to know about variants. Another thing worth noting is on maps with low gravity, you can make the most of the low gravity by using it to pressure some characters out of with into a lot more sticky situations than what they'd normally be comfortable with. Did he blow himself up? Normally, Citrons would not be able to land this sort of shooting without having to get a lot of help. However, thanks to the low gravity that was temporarily provided, I was able to harass the foot soldier at a distance and allow another Citron to roll through and finish him off. Do not take my lack of capturing or my losing games as the class being bad. Take it as it's not best to use a bunch of them. They died at exactly the same time and in exactly the same position. I might put that in clip dump. Also, pay very close attention to what your most current damage threat is. If something can fuck you up, focus it first. Foot soldiers are a massive detriment to Citron. Not only is the foot soldier got the ZPG, you know, the insta-kill, however, it also has the unfortunate bonus of having the rocket jump, allowing it to do allowing it to pick its fights a lot better, and a rapid fire weapon. Classes such as the engineer and scientist have a bit more trouble dealing with Citrons, as thanks to the high health, their single shots don't do enough damage to out-damage the Citron, who hits a lot harder quickly. However, classes such as the foot soldier and the imp that have rapid fire weaponry can deal with this problem a lot easier. If you don't know how to deal with a class, my priority is if they can out-damage you, focus them first. You have 200 health. You're not going to be but this doesn't mean that you're going to do the most damage. No, that'd be ridiculous. Your damage drop-off will teach you the limitations of what you can do real fucking quick. But this doesn't mean that you are useless. A Citron's best use is getting some classes to come to him. Don't go blindly running into classes. Instead, try and get classes to blindly run into you. Take a couple hits, stun them, and then take them down. However, you will definitely get more than one visitor. Now, I should have mentioned this in the Torchwood episode, but for weapons such as the Orange Beam and the Wood Chipper that can fire for a long that have the unlimited sign next to the ammo, this generally means that after a certain amount of time, their weapon will enter an overheat. I know, I should have mentioned this in the Torchwood episode, I'm sorry. But what I probably would have neglected to mention is that overheat can cripple classes. And if you get stuck in a bad situation if you get stuck in a bad spot with your overheat down, you are 100% gonna die. Overheat is a way to punish the classes that use it for trying to do too much. Don't be afraid to bunny hop your way out of a situation. As long as you get out of the fight alive, you haven't lost it. Work as a team. Work with your teammates to make killing enemies much easier. It takes two to be a team. However, you can do really good with more than 2 people. The more you work with, the more likely you're going to be able to win a fight. However, if your team is obviously going down in a fight, back away and wait for a better team. However, if your HP starts to get low, do not leave. Stay in the fight until you drop. It'd be much, because your health is so high and sunflowers don't exist in most casual games. You're going to have to pick your moments wisely. Because of the fact that your beam is pretty good, it generally does low damage quickly. You can use it to get rid of, or make most of them null. But Super Brains and All Stars will completely shred your ass. All Stars and Super Brains both clock the 200 health mark. Anything over 150 health is going to kick your ass. Since you only do roughly about 150 damage in about 3 seconds. If you ran the beam up their ass. Also, Z-Mechs aren't as bad of a threat since, you know, this. However, if you miss that EMP, you're going to have a hell of a fight ahead of you. Similarly to that of the Torchwood, because the Z-Mech is such a massive threat, a lot of people will definitely target it. However, unlike the Torchwood, you are going to have classes that will actively try and defend it. Since Z-Mech is such a very scarce ability that doesn't get used often, you are going to have to make the most of what little opportunities you do get to use the Z-Mech. Granted, this may mean having to relentlessly focus it, but don't think of it as a negative. If you get stuck in the gravity grenade is one of the hardest fuck yous a Citron can take. As not only is the Citron really fucked if he gets stuck in a gravity grenade, but it's tenfold if he gets fucked over. If he gets fucked over because he's in bull form and a gravity grenade goes off. Do not be afraid to bull form if you get in a tight spot. If they can't hit you, but you can't hit them, then you're not going to be high on the priority list to take down. Granted, yes. Keeping your team alive is definitely a priority. But when the chips are down, if you need to get out of there. Because reviving your teammates will only bring them up to half health unless you're a sunflower. So don't think that you have to. The dedicated healer does not always do the most. However, play support with the rest of your team. They will thank you for it. A quick summary about Citron and zone denial in zone-based game modes. Citron is much better playing the defense than he is the offense. Thanks to his abilities and his interesting weapon style, it's best to play the Citron like a sneaky attack, like a sneaky flank class. It's much easier to pull this off than the Torchwood due to, you know, you not being a giant tree. However, pick off imps. Imps can be the biggest detriment to a team's capture. If they get a Z-Mech going, they are going to be crazy. Generally, the heal beam of science can out heal the damage you can deal at most ranges. So focus on the scientist before focusing on the heal target. Think similarly to TF2. Focus on the healer before the healee. It'll make your life easier, trust me. Even though he isn't in this mode, the Hovergoat 3000 is a real dick if you're trying to deal with it. His health is more on the low side, however his damage is ridiculous. If you can nail a Z-Mech, if you can hit a Z-Mech with an EMP, which does a fair bit of damage, you're in a good position. Remember, your tackle will do some pretty decent damage, but don't let the shotgun characters get close. I mean, it's fucking common sense. You don't let characters whose weapons do more damage the closer they get to you. Now, you've been seeing me play Citron rather poorly. You're probably thinking, what are some ways to counter this beast? Well, A, he's not really a beast, it's more a puppy. But B, just gang up on him. Similarly to that of the Torchwood, like most Citron players can't deal with more than one target at a time. However, the Torchwood is not a class I would recommend to go toe-to-toe with, due to the Torchwood having many abilities that allow him to fuck you up, and if their aim is good, they would definitely be able to deal with you. Instead, for them, I'd recommend stay at mid-range and deal with them there. However, the Citron is the complete opposite. Get close or fuck off. Snipe, if you're playing Deadbeard or you're a really good shot with a foot soldier, I recommend staying away from the Citron and harassing him from a distance. This being that most good Citron players will be unable to deal with you at such a distance. The other thing is get up in their grill. Apart from the EMP, a Citron can't really do much to turn the tide. But what he can do is if he gets stuck in a position where he can't deal with an issue effectively, he will try and get out of there. Remember, baller form's hitbox is different than attack forms, so aim for the body, not for where he. And as you can see here, as I go next to this guy, aim for where the leg should be. Again, the same deal. Don't try and take on a big bolt blaster. It will fuck you up. Generally, big bolt blasters and cannon rodeos and stuff like that will be a pretty big detriment to most players. However, you can use this to your advantage. You can tell when a Z-Mech is starting to get low on HP when the damage numbers start getting high. When the chips are down, if you can fuck a Z-Mech, you're in a good position. But maximizing the abilities you have definitely will allow you to fuck up your target completely. Fuck him sideways in that. Stay out of gravity grenades. They will 100% kick your shit in. And imps especially. You want to take them down, then foot soldiers. Normally, I would easily put the foot soldier at the highest board of the priority list. However, imps are small and hard to find generally. So if you're in a situation where you can kill one, kill it. Kill it with fire. That one's going in. If you want to play the objective on the turf maps, go baller mode. 85% of the time, baller mode will make you much harder to hit. And while generally they won't be able to recover from this, if you can deal with the things that are causing problems for the team, you may be able to cripple their team long enough for you to be able to kill them. As long as you are able to kill, if you can kill something quickly, you are not in a bad position. Super Brains are the exception of this rule, as Super Brains is one of the very few classes that can out-DPS you at close range. Chip him down and try and get him to come to you. Work with your team, for fuck's sake. Like you can see here, teams are much harder to take down. If the bigger the team, you become much harder to take down. However, don't generally go after single targets unless you're absolutely sure there's not a second person in the area. A lot of the Citrons that I see go down try to take someone on alone and then get fucked when two more people come around the corner. Remember, it's especially true with the Citron more than any other class. Aim for the head. And also maximize your abilities to get away from gunfights. Shit. Getting away from gunfights is probably going to be the best thing you can do. Pick your fights is especially true with the faster with characters with abilities to make them go faster. Citron, pea shooter, that sort of thing. However, the double down is incredibly true. Focus down foot soldiers. Your peel shield will block most forms of damage. And if someone gets too close for your liking, stun them. However, it becomes more true the lower health you have. Pay attention to what's around you. You can generally see ZPGs coming. You should be if you're watching, if you're doing what a Citron should be doing, and that's watching most sides of the plaintiff. However, there will be games that no matter how hard you try, you just will be stuck on the losing end of. This is pretty frequent. And don't believe you're a bad player because you lose a game. Learn from what went wrong and try better next time. Execute Order 66. And finally, to wrap this up, I'm going to be doing one game of Team Vanquish. Not two, one game. See, there's not many maps that I can use generally to show how good a character is. Lunar Landing, however, is the biggest test of skill. Lunar Landing is very different to that of most maps. There are two sections of the map, both of which have different choke points that you have to learn to play. Well, the main problem that you will find when dealing with Lunar Landing is that outside the gravity is low. Having low gravity is generally not a good thing for most classes, except for classes that are generally good at countering that. But inside is not much better. Inside is an example of a bottleneck. Other maps have these, and we will touch on them later. But bottlenecks are generally where the map is built in a way so that there is... Bottlenecks when the map is built in a way so that it's difficult to secure a foothold, which will make games a lot more fast-paced, as teams will have to coordinate pushes. However, on Lunar Landing, it doesn't work. The bottleneck is crazy. This is where your bottleneck is. Generally, this section here allows your teams to not only take pot shots on the inside, but shoot in some places on the outside, and return out there to do damage. Even though Citron is not the class that will benefit from this, you can also use it to completely silence teams as other characters. A good cactus can utilize this bottleneck and ruin the fun for everyone. As 80% of good cacti know good game sense and good coordination. And the more coordinated you are, the more useful you're going to be to the rest of your team. So because of the Citron's weird damage drop-off, I would recommend on this character more than any other one to try and work with your team. It's not a requirement, but you will definitely better yourself if you work with your team to try and score kills instead of just trying to be the lone hero and get kills that way. Citron can be the game changer that the world needs, or he'll be a piece of shit. The skill ceiling, while picking him up is easy, the skill ceiling for this guy is massive. You have to learn positioning, and on this character more than any other character, you have to learn the hitboxes of all the characters. Where the heads are, what'll do the most damage. Using the stun grenades to deal more damage quickly, stuff like that. If you can harass someone So, the final recap. If you can harass someone but they can't harass you, you're in a good position as a Citron. Utilize the abilities you have, both forms, and the really iffy hitbox detection on the Citron more than any other character to try and devastate your enemies and try and ruin the fun. And even if you can't score the kill, the rest of your team will let you know about it. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Ginger from Idiot Games & Co. Thank you so much for watching this episode of How to Hero. And the next character on How to Hero, let me just pull this up. The next character on How to Hero is the Sunflower. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. I will see you later, and goodbye.